Planning an event and wondering how you can give your attendees the best experience possible? Take advantage of customized meetings with Hilton that make it easier than ever to incorporate health, wellness, and great breaks. Hilton will help you build an extraordinary meeting that attendees will remember. To book your next meeting or event, go to meetings.hilton.com.
Are you followers?
Okay, so we're gonna probably add.
Welcome to Gather Geeks, a podcast by BizBash, the place where people passionate about meetings and events come together. Here are your hosts, BizBash CEO David Adler and Editor-in-Chief Beth Kormanik.
Hi, David.
Hey, Beth, here we are, another Gather Geeks podcast.
Our guest today is Jacob Tao, whose Jacksonville, Florida-based company, DJ Jacob, provides DJ services as well as event lighting and design. The company serves the wedding market, but some of its insights cross over into corporate events, fundraising galas, and other events with DJs. David, you met DJ Jacob at a recent Engage Wedding Summit. What caught your attention about him?
Well, I like the fact that he's kind of the entrepreneur DJ and that he combines all aspects of being what I call a collaboration artist. And he uses his, DJ sort of prowess, I guess is the right word, to connect people. And he also used lighting and all these other ideas and other accoutrements of that. And I just found it was interesting. And we were at this resort called Solaz, a luxury collection resort in Los Cabos, in Cabo, and it was fantastic. And the funny thing is that one of the gifts that they gave us were all these sort of mezcal, these beautiful glasses of these large bottles of mezcal, and you could not really bring them on the plane, so we had to drink them. So I apologize in advance if you hear some clinking of glasses.
That's right. Okay, so the stage is set then for that. It was a laid-back background. However, I will point out that the content of this Gather Geeks episode is particularly geeky. You have lighting, audio, details, rigging. We're getting into all of it, plus how DJ Jacob puts together a playlist and why he can't do that in advance. So some really interesting stuff here covering the world of DJs and weddings, and let's get into it.
So what is the different formula for each area then? Like what, if you're going to make it a low key event, like what do you do? Like how do you explain to someone what you do? Do you come in and put lights on the floor? Do you just put lights on the ceilings?
This isn't just me playing hard to get.
Yeah.
My close friends in the business do the exact same thing that I do right now. They're like, this is Jacob. He's lighting and he does lighting and DJ but it's more than that. But he does, but it's, you tell him. And I've heard that 1,000 times.
And it's sort of like, it when you see it.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
And they don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Is that the new way things are happening, you think? Is that it's kind of like you don't need all the stuff that you used to need.
That is true.
So it's a different approach.
Yeah. Well, if the room's 100 feet wide, you need 25 up lights, or whatever. But
you still need that,
here's
right?
The formula.
Or no? You don't need a formula.
Why would you need a formula?
Yeah.
My point is, let's make it feel as organic as possible. And what if it's a 100-foot wall on one side and a 100-foot wall on the other side, and you have 25 lights on one side? What if you do 50 lights on the other side? You're supposed to only have 30 or whatever. But we'll do 2 different looks on both sides of the room. And I usually do 4 different looks in a room. So each wall will be...
Okay, so we're getting to a formula here.
Oh, there we go. You finally nailed me down on it. I try to do 4 different looks in a room. I try to do one space that's static. And then one space that's constantly changing and moving. And then one space that really highlights a product or a person or the what I call the money shot. And I usually have that when you first walk in, that's the money shot. Now that's a combination of static and moving. And then the other wall is going to be moving, but not as aggressively. And so by doing that, the photographers now have 4 different looks they're photographing from.
So you're thinking for social.
I'm thinking for social. I'm thinking for videographers. I'm thinking for photographers. And I want to make sure that when they take pictures throughout the night, they're taking pictures of a different room all the time.
That's interesting.
It's constantly moving.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing. Because that's just like in nature.
Yeah.
It doesn't, whatever direction you look, it's going to be a different look.
Right.
And so I want it to look that way. I don't walk in, the whole room's red.
Right.
That's boring. One shot, you're done.
Right.
But if everything's if you have that one shot in the back, for example, you can pose something, but you can pose it, but we don't want to pose everything. So.
Right. Is it a reveal strategy? Do you do all at once, or you scale it?
Yeah. We try to do, when you first walk in, you get the wow. And then when someone starts speaking or something on stage to present a product or something like that, we do another wow. And then we try to, we end it with a wow. And then right before everyone's about to head out, that's when we show all of our cards. To where like, if
you leave them with the lasting impression.
If you had left early, you missed everything.
Really?
And I run into that sometimes with photographers who are like, well, they didn't book me for the last hour. I'm like, you're going to miss the whole show.
Yeah.
Like, I know you've been here for 6 hours, but it's all about to happen. And so that's when like, we're doing like, rose petal confetti, and then, CO2 coming from the ceiling onto the dance floor, or all that's changing with the lighting. And then dancers are coming out, and it's just like at the last hour, it's getting out of control.
Yeah.
And we just scale up and scale up and scale up. And then we immediately just end it. At the most amount of energy we can produce. I don't like it. I never like it to phase out for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about the technology for doing this? Is it simpler now than it was? I mean, what if you nerd out on us a little bit, like what do you use? What is your sort of canvas?
So I control all of my lights with iPads. So I do that.
What's the software program that you use?
I use Astera lighting for like pixel tubes to build structures, which are fully programmable LED light tubes. And they last like 20 hours. It's ridiculous. And so I can build things the day before or 2 days before.
So the lighting world has changed dramatically over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
So all these sort of old line lighting guys that you spend $1 gazillion for are probably obsolete.
These giant moving lights.
Yeah. The smart lights
that do 12 things are out the door.
Really?
For me anyways. Mm-hmm. They're ginormous.
Right.
They use a ton of power.
Right.
And you've got to run a lot of cable. It all has to go back to a lighting control in the back.
Uh-huh.
It all has to be pre-programmed. So, hey, we want to change the show. Can you change it? Well, I haven't programmed that into the show.
Right.
Well, why can't we just have it happen naturally?
You can do it on the fly.
On the fly.
You can do it on the fly.
So,
and that's the difference between old school and new school.
And we're, instead of focusing a light beam onto something, we're doing light washes onto spaces. And the reason I like to do that is that's how it happens naturally. You don't walk outside and the sun just focuses on your face.
Right.
It lights up the room, but it's in different colors and it changes throughout the day. That's how life is. That's how everywhere you go. Like you walked in, Times Square. It's light coming from every direction, every color.
Right.
But people photograph really well there because it's like every color in every direction.
Now, one of the things Bentley talks about is what people look like.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? And he says he's very much anti-LED.
Yeah.
What is your thinking about?
So he likes and I get that with LED lighting on people, like a stage wash, for example. We don't do a mixed LED for skin tones. We do a singular LED.
So that's what, if you're listening and you're a planner, you should make sure that your lighting guy says, do a mixed.
Yeah, because typically they'll do like a red, green, blue, white. And the planner says, oh, I want the lighting white. And so they'll just switch it to white. But it photographs blue. And they know what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's not white.
Right.
It's mixed down to white. So we don't do that at all. We just have an LED that actually adjusts like 3,000 Kelvin temperature. So it is a nice skin tone. It's slightly lighter than a candlelight. So people look like humans instead of like Oompa Loompas. Like we want them to look right.
Right.
It photographs well.
Right.
It's flicker free, so you don't get these bands that would move through when videographers are trying to film.
Yeah.
And then you get the footage, 3 weeks later, and you're like, "What is all this waves?" Like, well, it's your lighting guy. I don't know what to tell you.
So if let's say you don't have a budget, you're listening to this, you don't have a budget, and you want to have people look great.
Yeah.
What's like the minimal lighting thing that you need as for a videographer? Let's say
for a videographer.
Like, what is your suggestion to somebody that it's actually not really a big event, but they hire a videographer, but they want people to look good? Like, what is the minimal thing you could do?
So where the people are going to be photographed, I don't like to change that lighting specifically very much. I like it to be as dimmed as we can get it to where
you're another dim the light as much as
not
possible.
The whole room,
but just where the
I want the touch points to be lit properly consistently all night. Like I don't want the table to dim. and then go bright, and then dim and go bright. Like I want people to be able to see the table
Right.
all night. I want people to be able to see, the client all night. I want to be able to, when you photograph their faces, it's not like as the night progresses, they just get worse and worse and worse.
Right.
With that said, I don't put lighting on like a dance floor. I don't do spots. I don't do lasers. Because I want people to photograph well. I want all the look to be what's behind them.
So your lighting is about the back of them, not on the dance floor, not like a wild gyration of.
Because when you take a picture of someone nowadays, they want to see the person.
Right. So that's the difference now because of social media.
Correct.
You want to make sure that you're not sort of making it harder.
Yeah, and it used to be like I'm having fun because I'm here and there's like all kinds of crazy lights.
Yeah. You feel it and all that stuff.
Like now I went shopping for 3 weeks to get this outfit and I want to look good on the dance floor. So when you take my picture, it needs to look right.
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
So that's the whole difference. So the old school DJs.
Yeah, and then tag me so I look good.
Yeah.
Right. But I look good because everything behind me looks good.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
And so whenever you're dealing with a photographer and people are like, well, take my picture. Well, where should I stand?
Yeah.
Well, if it doesn't matter what's behind you, what it would matter where you stand?
Right.
So I want the room to stand well, right?
Right,
So
right.
when they stand on the dance floor and have fun and the party's crazy, and the photographer has the freedom to move around a whole room at 4 different angles, and it's different.
So what color should you avoid in lighting if to let people make sure that they're being for the backgrounds? Like what?
Green is the avoidance color. Of all.
So Jacob's big rule is
no green.
No
light.
green.
And the reason is that's why they have green screens.
You're right.
Because there's no green in the human skin tone. Like it doesn't exist. So they can put you in front of a green screen and then you can easily do the contrast
Okay.
on computer.
So no green backgrounds.
People with green lighting.
Okay. What are the other
Like,
Jacob
they're
rules
like-
about this?
I don't do. I don't like front-facing lighting where it's shining straight in people's faces. I really want to keep it at a 45-degree angle and above their sight line. I want people to be able to engage with one another. So if they're staring at each other's eyes and it's right in their eyes, they're not going to engage. They're just
Right.
going to be like,
Because they can't connect.
"Why is the lighting like this?"
Yeah.
That's a huge rule. And then we don't do cabling. That's not like
Cable's another Jacob.
like
note.
hanging, cabling. Truss is another one. I don't do truss on purpose.
Because
One, because I think you cannot make a truss structure look right at any level.
and any background should not. So any really solid lighting DJ design type person.
They use them because of restraints within the equipment. That's just my I have a different approach.
That's okay. That's what we're trying to get.
And that's all it is. And so I don't like truss.
Because you don't have heavy equipment either,
I don't do heavy equipment.
which
on
is
on
a big.
purpose. Here's a wild one. I don't do ladders.
You don't do ladders.
I don't do ladders.
And why don't you do ladders? Because you don't want lights on high up.
So I rig them all from the ground.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty technical, but I have this like dozens of multiple facets of rigging components that I've had milled and created that I can clamp them and magnetize them to any structure in the ceiling from 40 feet away from the ground that I can focus and calibrate and change. And the benefit of that, there's a lot of benefits. I don't need a lift. I don't need to run cable. I don't need to make the cable look nice.
So you're basically saying you don't need unions, which is a good thing.
I don't need the insurance for that
Yeah,
either. So,
yeah.
but it's giving the planners and the designers freedom to where they stand back. Everything's done. All the florals are up. The stage is up. Band's up there, and they stand back and they're like, "Oh my god, that table 12 is like literally 8 inches to the left. We need to move it." But as soon as you move it, it's out of the lighting. It's done. Now it's in a black spot. And they Jacob, move the lighting. Great, no problem. I go over there from the ground. I don't say, "Hey, bring the lift in."
Yeah. So it's easier to do, easier to like
Yeah.
last minute because
Yeah.
we know what these are
That's
like
it.
at the last minute.
I can control it last minute.
Yeah. That's another rule so that you have to be
Yeah.
flexible.
You got to be flexible. And so I'm infinitely flexible in that respect.
Yeah.
I'm not restrained. I try not to restrain myself based on things I can't control.
So this is a new way of thinking. So some of the old line lighting companies are really going to be disrupted. You're disrupting that world.
But they'll look at me as such a small person that they think I'm not a disruption.
Yeah, that's what they thought about Uber.
That's what they thought about cell phones.
Cell phones, yeah. No, this will go
Not
away.
about
This is
Netflix,
just a fad.
yeah.
But I'm saying, this is the future in terms of lighting? Because also the planners don't want to get hassled with this stuff, right?
I've never met a planner that I explained this to who wasn't like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, if the venue's power shuts down, it doesn't change your event. Everything looks exactly the same.
So are you able to handle the entire lighting of the entire room?
Correct. That's
the whole idea.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And so,
But not at like a budget level or like for some events, like major events. Like we really want it to look professional and film well for TV or whatever to the highest level with this approach. Because otherwise, what's the point?
right. So is there a budgetary sort of advantage to this? It sounds like if you have less unions and less rigging and less everything else, the budgets are much more manageable.
The profit is a lot more for me. So I'm able to buy more fixtures that I can just be more aggressive financially with buying the equipment that makes my job easier, which in turn makes my clients' stress level go down because I'm not stressed.
Right. So they don't care about seeing a plan because they kind of understand they're buying into you, but they can also make changes at the last minute when they're in the room.
That's the key. And so in the old school way, what's the plan? Because I've got to tell 16 guys and 3 box trucks what's the plan.
Yeah.
Because we got to pull all this equipment from the warehouse.
Right.
So there's got to be a plan. But when it's 2 people on an iPad and 200 light fixtures that we can put anywhere, anytime, how do you want to move the plane around? So we can be really flexible on, why don't we just do the event in the middle of the field, in the middle of the woods?
Doesn't matter.
And do it there.
So we earlier this morning talked about the idea of not lighting just the room, but lighting the forest. I was talking about our White House Correspondents events when the French embassy would basically light the forest, and that was the most elegant lighting of the whole event.
I love that. And whenever there's windows, like I have a client coming up, and there's a huge bay window behind their event, and they want to light the woods behind them, but it's going to be after sunset, and they want a sunset look. They want it to look like the sun is still setting. So we're creating a path, just like when the sun comes down between trees.
Right.
We're sort of doing a high contrast beam, and then we're lighting trees. We're backlighting trees, so the trees look like they're lighting from that direction. So it's like there's a story being told. Something's happening in that direction.
Right. Right. Even though it's not part of the room.
Correct.
You're really going out to look at the view outside.
And sometimes the windows are even tinted.
Yeah.
And so you can't see it unless you pop outside, to grab a fresh air. And you're just like, oh my gosh, look at that. Have you seen you seen that? So we want to tell the story. We want people to kind of explore the space. So what we call it to our clients, we expand the space. And so, for example, if we're doing a tent wedding, we always uplight everything around it because I want the trees to be just as beautiful as the inside.
So the first impression becomes an important aspect of what you do, it sounds like.
Yeah. I want them to walk into a story, not to another event.
Walk into a story.
Yeah.
And what is the arc of that story?
It needs to be emotionally provocative. Like it needs to. I just want people to walk away and be like, that was the most ridiculous event I've ever been to, and that's not always accomplished through lighting. That's accomplished through taking care of people, accomplished through making them feel emotionally connected to other people. And the way you can do that is not having the music too loud so they can conversate, not having the lighting too bright so that they're free to dance. It's creating an environment where people are safe and they feel respected as humans to connect. Right. So they can do, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. Because now they can actually hear and enjoy the party.
At my presentation here at Engage, I talked about crowd shaping. Mm-hmm. And the DJ actually is the center of that in many cases because they're on the scene and they can look at things from a biorhythmic point of view. They can look at it from all different aspects of it. How do you read a room? You have to really be attentive to what's going on. You as the DJ now, once the event starts, how are you manipulating the room in a way that make people feel?
It's one of those things where over time, over years of experience, you start to feel that. But I'll have designers put me in the corner or put me on a stage with surrounded by decor. And I'm like, I really don't want a stage at all. Actually, I just want to be on how close can you get me to the dance floor? A DJ did not.
Is that another Jacob rule?
Yeah, I want to be as close as I can. to the dance floor.
Okay.
Like we were talking about, when I DJ'd the Knockout a couple of years ago, I told the designer, she was like, well, we're going to have you here, and then we'll have the dance floor there, and we'll have the bar over there. And I was like, well, why don't we just make the whole room the bar and make the whole room the dance floor, and not restrict people to one area? Like, you have fun here. Okay, you drink here, you conversate there. I said, let's just make it all the same. So put me in the center of the room and just wrap a huge bar around me. So now the whole room's the bar, the whole room's the dance floor. Wherever you're at, you're having fun. And so as much as I can do that with people to where when they walk in, they don't feel like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that here. I want them to just enjoy everywhere all the time, right?
So how do you give them permission to dance anywhere? Like, that's an interesting concept.
So I always do surround sound at an event.
And that's another Jacob rule?
I always do surround sound. So I never do like front-facing loudspeakers, because then you're intimidated by the DJ. You don't want to get near them because it's so loud.
Right.
So I don't do that. And when I have kids, I want to hear them when I'm older, so I don't want to blow my own eardrums. So yeah, I love surround sound, and I'm true to heart. Like, when I go into a theater or performing arts theater, I want it to sound like that at an event.
So, but how do you do this? So how do you get people, that whole early part of an event where you want to get people dancing? How do you actually get people to dance? Like, what is the Jacob rule on that?
That's magic. So what I always tell people, I show my hand up front.
What does that mean?
I go all in. Like the songs that you're like, hey, if he plays that song, I'm going to dance.
Right.
I might play that song right away. First song.
Yeah.
I'm not holding anything back. My first 15 songs are all the best songs. I just keep going. Boom, 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 boom. And then what I'm doing is I'm building trust with the people, because they're committing to me. And if you walk out on the dance floor and the DJ all of a sudden switches to a dumpy song, you're like, oh, great, man. Now I'm up here and I look stupid because I'm dancing to a dumb song. So I'm building trust and telling them, like, hey, if you commit to me, I'll commit to you.
So what are the most universal songs?
No, don't do that. The songs that...
What is the trust? Hard. But what is like the one that works?
It's different for every single...
Okay, let's take a scenario. Let's take millennials.
Okay, millennials.
What would you do? How do you program a millennial? I know millennial is the worst word to say too.
Now it's Gen Z.
Gen Z. Like
tomorrow it's going to be something else.
Create whatever definition you feel comfortable with.
Correct.
And how would you then? What's your formula for doing it?
As soon as I describe a song, that song now is not cool. As soon as I say this is the song, it's not the song.
Right. It's like you don't want me asking you that question.
And actually, I get asked that quite a bit. I have clients who reach out to me and they say, "Hey, can you send us a playlist?
Yeah.
Can you send us a mix? Can you send us something that like you perform?" And I tell them, "I can't. I don't."
So how do you feel it? What do you do when you get there? You feel it?
And so what I do is I call it my grab bag.
Okay.
And I work closely with the clients, whether corporate or whatever level, and I'll say, give me your, top 15 must plays or your top 40 play possibles, and then like you're like 3 to 5 like do not play songs. And now I've got this grab bag of songs. And so as the party's going, I'm just like, I'm watching the crowd respond to, for example, if I play a disco song or whatever, and everyone clears the floor. Okay, I should never play a disco song again ever at this party, right? So I'm out. Right?
It's AI in a different way. It's
why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
So, but I'm watching that in real time, and I'm not embarrassed to just like fade out of that, mix out of that.
Yeah.
Like drop the beat, just pull the lyrics out, and just keep the disco rhythm going. But then maybe I bring in like Bruno Mars and his lyrics over top of that, and then bring the Generation Z back in or whatever. And now I'm
you actually read the crowd based on the music, right?
I have to in real time,
right?
Constantly.
Right.
But while I'm doing that, I'm changing the lighting.
Oh, is it really?
In real time. And so if I switch to a different song, a different beat, the room is changing. Because I want them to, if they're conversating and they're maybe not really listening, but all of a sudden the room starts changing and people's faces start lighting up more, or the colors and the tones start lighting up to a richer tone, to more. What as we look at like sunsets, like a richer tone like that, where it's appealing, then they say, "Oh, this is good. This is you emotionally connect with. Oh, this is a good thing. I should go enjoy this." And I use that to draw people in.
Right.
I tell people you can play the worst song at the right time, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little break and come right back after this message from Hilton. So when's the big event? Hilton's here for planners with their exclusive customized meetings. Become a wow maker and save time by letting Hilton help you present an extraordinary event, one that leads to memorable and meaningful connections. Visit meetings.hilton.com and let Hilton help you.
Well, one of the things we discussed earlier was that the music in today's world is so different because there's no sort of central data bank anymore of this.
No, it's not.
So you said it was before 2000?
Like 2008 was kind of like whenever people finally got iPhones and they're really customizing their playlists to a whole new level, and they're getting really specific on, well, yeah, I do like indie, but it's more like this acoustic indie pop, but like a specific genre of this art, and they get down to the nitty gritty, and they'll only follow that path, right? But then when you play something that is danceable and is enjoyable, it's like, well, that's not really my style.
Right.
And it's just like anything else where people are getting so customized in their personal experiences that unless you're following that path, they might check out. And so I have to show all my cards up front and just be like, look, we're all in this experience together. We're gonna enjoy this party together. And I'm going to just keep giving you every single song that's going to get you out on the dance floor, just nonstop for the whole night. I'm not one who plays a lot of filler songs or transition songs.
What's a filler song and what's a transition song for people that don't know?
A filler song would be, I'm trying not to list any songs at all.
or a style.
Yeah. Okay. I'll like a transitions or a filler song would be some like slow song from the late 90s.
Okay.
Everyone knows them. Everyone knows like how to middle school dance to them.
Yeah.
And it's just getting you from like a crazy party to slow the crowd down. To
right.
Come back. Like I don't like to do that. If I'm going to do a slow song, it's going to be rich in meaning. It's going to connect with what's actually happening at that event. I really want to draw in the lyrics more than just getting people moving. I'm very intentional on the lyrics as well.
Right.
So
interesting. So, so there's a new. This could be an odd question, but because of the new rules about the new laws about cannabis, and people are actually getting high at events.
Yeah.
Has the music changed? Has the lighting changed? Is it sort of like when you're high and you're like being a DJ in a place where it's illegal? Is it a different thing?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I've actually had several weddings now just recently, actually with the, I don't want to timestamp this, but recent weddings that I've had where they're smoking in the room.
Yeah.
Right.
Or vaping or smoking.
Yeah. But they're doing weed in the room as the event's happening. And it is changing the crowd. Sometimes for the better and sometimes not for the better. Sometimes the right people are loosening up and sometimes the wrong people are getting too relaxed and they just sit down.
so you
so it's combining that with alcohol and weed, they just kind of get slower and slower and slower.
Yeah. So you know how the night progresses, then it
definitely progresses.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah, and they are requesting different music, what they would consider, which I've heard people call it weed music, which that's not a term that I would put on it personally, but I don't know why they would call it. But anyways, so they request these certain songs that they think are connected to what the drugs are doing. And I play them and they tank.
They tank, really?
I have no idea why.
So what do you have to go? Do you counter program on that then? Or do you?
Yeah, so I see it coming. I see them request a song. I say, oh, it'd be so cool, man. You should play this song. And I'm just like, I love that song. I'm not going to play it. Right?
Yeah.
But I tell them I love it.
But what do you go to a higher energy song about?
I got to bring them back around.
You got to bring it back around.
Right. If I just start going down that, because it's always slower pace. Usually it's Jamaican, usually it's reggae. Sometimes on the flip side, maybe it's like a dubstep beat or something. Yeah. But they want to feel that bass heavy sound because now that their mind is slowed down a little bit.
Right.
So,
that's so interesting. It's like a whole new world.
It's a whole new world.
It's a completely new. So it's changing. What do you see as the future then? I mean, that's one of the things that's happening. I mean, how are you? I mean, you're sort of in touch with a lot of the current planners, and because you're generationally close in age, you have a sort of this like instant communications with them.
Yeah.
What do you see happening in this world now? Like,
it helps that I look a lot younger than I actually am. That helps. Because the younger couples will connect with me
Okay.
Because they're like, we're the same age. I'm like,
Maybe not.
not even close.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
But gosh, I have like a Sweet 16 coming up,
Yeah.
which I usually don't do.
This is purely Gen Z.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
it's a room full of 15, 16-year-olds.
What are they interested in?
These are the scariest events in the world.
Okay.
And the reason is,
Take us into the future.
yeah, and it's one of these things where, like, they're all high society, they're all extremely well connected, like all their families are wealthy, and these kids always get what they want, right? No problem. They've always had an iPhone. They've always had music in their room, whatever they want.
Right.
And when you request a song, when they request a song, they want to hear it. They want to hear it immediately, and they want to hear the worst version of it because they're used to hearing that. That's what they get. They get what they want. But it doesn't matter how fresh my playlist is. They want to hear a song that just came out yesterday.
Really?
They want to hear it because they got it. They heard it. They listened on the way there.
Right.
And they're excited about the party, so they listen to the newest version, the newest song that just came out today.
So they're bratty.
Yeah. And used to was like, oh, did you go get that album, at the store or whatever?
Yeah.
And so sometimes if I go too fresh, I've played tracks before that were being made in real time, and I played them in real time because they were being streamed as they're being produced. And I lost the crowd.
Yeah.
It's too fresh. So I have to be careful, like, when they request these really fresh songs to, okay, yes, that it's a niche group. There's 6 of you who know about this track.
So how do you just sort of just ignore them? I guess unless it's the owner or the host.
I want to make sure everyone feels loved.
Yeah.
And so, I want them to be receptive. When they come to me and request stuff or they request a change, I'm like, yes, I'll do my best. By my best, I'll do my best to make the room happy, right? So,
do you see a universal taste coming up in this generation? Is there anything that's like the next rap or the next this or the next that?
They used to
everything.
They used to be a thing. Like you used to say like 80s music, right, or 90s music. You can't say late 2000s music or like 2010. That's not a thing anymore because it is so narrow. Like, well, that's like even earlier today, you were listening to Pacific Track that no one else here is listening to.
Yeah.
And you love it.
Yeah.
But if that artist was to come and play, you'd be the only one up front, right?
Right.
No one else.
Right.
Because that's not their
So
jam.
it's changing the music business
Oh my
entirely, which
gosh.
changes the DJ business,
so
which changes
niche.
the party and event business.
That's right.
So you're still sort of stuck in the pre-2008 Universal tracks, right?
If you want to bring everyone universally and you have to go back in time to draw them in. Oh, and that's the frustrating thing. So what I do is I find those beats and rhythms that are universal from the new tracks. And so I'll play the old track, carry the same beat in to the new track, right? And so now I've brought both crowds in. The people who are like, whatever you want to play, I want to have fun.
Right.
Like, I'm here to have fun, and I'll dance. But some people are just like, unless it's cool enough for me to go on the dance floor, I'm not going. And so I try to hit both of those groups.
So can you explain a little bit, and this is my ignorance too, about the difference between electronic dance music and why that attracts people to what's happening at events? It's two different things, right? Or is it similar?
The EDM
Explain
or
what
the
that
electronic
is.
dance music.
Yeah, in terms of like for a planner that may not know like me.
It is a new thing as far as events are concerned. It's really made its resurgence in like 2002, and it's been going up ever since. And then once Skrillex, who is a dubstep or EDM artist, became Artist of the Year, DJs and electronic music just really took off. It went a whole nother level at that point. But as far as weddings are concerned, seeing EDM grow and grow and grow, I've noticed a level with this new generation where they want it to feel like a festival. They want
Even a party, any
they want
party.
it to be Burning Man. They want it to be EDC. They want it to be, they want Tiesto up there like shooting pyrotechnics and the big LED screens, and they want their event to be like what they see these million people showing up to. Like they want the
And
DJ.
is that possible?
We can
You can pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to the highest level, but I try to explain to them like it. As someone who's been to those events, it's so big and so loud. I'm not connected with the DJ. I'm not connected with the experience.
Yeah.
I'm literally holding my phone and watching what's happening. And I don't want them to do that. What I want them to do with the lighting design, and you can even see it in their lighting design. All it is it's hitting the crowd in their face.
Right.
It's just
Which is
constant.
exactly what you said. You don't want to.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because they're watching a show, but I'm not there to put on a show.
Yeah.
That crowd came to see one DJ, but I could care less if they know who I am.
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset. So they're wanting this huge production, a huge like build, but my goal is to make them the show. Like I want, what they're doing on the dance floor to be
So is that the difference between the DJs are now superstars?
For the
big DJs.
Oh, yeah.
But the real effective DJ at parties and events
are the ones
that are not the ones.
Exactly.
Because first of all, no one's going to pay the money for the really superstar DJs necessarily, right?
Would you want that person at your party?
No.
Yeah. Because it would be all about them, right?
It's all about them. It's not about the guest.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like it's counterintuitive a little bit.
Yeah, my mindset when I'm there, my client is the planner, and I'm there to serve the guest.
Yeah.
My client is the person who's designing and creating the event. That's my client because they're the return client.
Right.
It may not necessarily be the person who paid for it. They might not be my client. I know that's weird, but it's the person that I'm going to work with in the future.
And let's end on why is the DJ and the lighting so important today? What is it about? I mean, this phenomenon is only fairly recent in terms of a DJ being sort of the centerpiece. But the social directors at a party bar mitzvahs used to hire someone to help people do the dancing and do the DJing, but it was a different connotation.
Yeah, you're right.
But what is it that is it the glue? I mean, I call that that we want event organizers to be collaboration artists. Mm-hmm. And are you really the collaboration artist in the room?
There is definitely a disconnect from planners. They're still in the mindset of if I make it pretty, it'll be a good event.
Yeah.
If I make the timeline perfect, it'll be a good event. If I bring in the right group of people, it'll be a good event. And then and I see this all the time, as soon as the party starts, they look at me like, you good? And then they walk away.
Yeah.
What you don't see is them now collaborating and coordinating what's happening in real time.
Yeah.
With the party.
Yeah.
It's not just like, well, okay, they're doing this, but maybe we should throw out, some foam, whatever. Like maybe we should like change what's happening here and like engage with the actual party.
Yeah.
Instead, they go grab an espresso and sit in the back and be like, oh my gosh, my feet are hurting because I've been in these lubes all day.
Right. Exactly.
Well, the actual event just started.
Yeah.
The pretty is not the event.
Well, that's what I mean. You have my theory is you have the experience makers on one side, but then you have the collaboration artists on the other, and you come into the category of collaboration artist. Collaboration artist is the one that is the glue that makes it happen, that makes the Maya Angelou thing happen.
Yeah,
the feeling happen.
That's right, and my client from this past weekend when they left. He said, I know this isn't important to you, but you've really changed our lives tonight.
Right. So in a sense, though, the quote unquote, I'm doing air quote DJ, is really not a DJ. He's really still the social director of the event for the most part, and he's controlling. He's doing the crowd shaping in real time.
And the best way for me to do that is to control the lighting, to control the music, control the vibe,
and the microphone.
Yeah, and mix it to where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And so now people who are even listening to this podcast now, like making sure the sound is comfortable for them.
Yeah.
Like I want the end user to not just be comfortable, but have a good experience.
I always say that when you're going to create a revolution, the first thing you do is you take over the radio station. And what the DJ is the radio station at the event. In a sense, it's a little odd, but that's the way it goes. Okay, so do you have how do you bring up the next generation of people that are doing what you do? Where are those people coming from? Like, where did you start? And how did you decide that you were going to do this?
I saw a need in the market of people who are like genuinely passionate for, I'm genuinely passionate for a good product in the sense of like, I want the sound to be right. I want the lighting to be right because it evokes an emotion in me when it's not. Like I've got up and walked out of restaurants if there's bad lighting.
Right. But you have a personality, though, that you're connecting with the planner, and the planner is trusting you to hand the reins over to a group of people, maybe hundreds of people. And if you screw it up, they're dead.
They're dead. Yeah, they're going to go, why did you hire this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And like I said, but the planners in the back have an espresso. Like,
yeah, they don't even know that they're doing this.
They have no idea.
So you think that planners have to get more on board, that they need this person, this content person,
to change the space, to change the room, to change
that
the
controls
emotion.
all these different things.
It's not just, okay, you play the right song at the right time.
It's not. You're not a DJ. It's not about the music.
It's not anymore.
It's about the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's not about playing a particular playlist, because everyone has their own playlist. Yeah. So that's not the priority.
Great. Well, with that, thank you, Jacob, for joining us.
Thank you,
and I think that we're going to watch you and see how your career progresses. I think you got a big career ahead of you.
All right. Hi, David. Back in our studio. No more mezcal.
No.
Not today, sadly.
It does bring back the memories of a drunken podcast interview.
Perhaps, but also geeky, I think, as I promised in the introduction. So for our listeners who correctly named green as the lighting color to avoid, pat yourselves on the back. If you disagree, tweet at us, let us know. We'd love to hear your opinion on that as well. David, you joked with him about disrupting longstanding practices in event lighting. But seriously, how much of this industry is ripe for new kinds of thinking?
I think new people are coming in and they're saying, well, why do we have to do it the way everyone's doing it? And I think that you're seeing that everywhere. And also you're seeing the aesthetic being accepted as opposed to, oh my God, we can't possibly change.
But you mean event planners are more open to having a different look?
Well, I think that the new generation of event planners are not saddled with the past. I mean, I've been going, I think I've mentioned before that I was at the Teen Vogue Summit recently, and it was like a peek into the future. And they don't really care as much about the decor the way our generation or my generation cared about the decor. They were okay with more bare bones. They were okay with the basics. And they were,
as long as it still looked, it
still had
a
the
style,
look.
it had a
right.
look.
It had a look.
It felt cohesive.
It had,
right?
Yes, exactly. It had to feel, but the thing is the tools today allow that to happen more easily than us trying to put things together that didn't work. That makes sense? So Beth, what is going on at BizBash?
Eagle-eyed Gather Geeks listeners may have noticed that we have a new look for our logo. It's a little bolder. It's definitely fresh. And that leads me to, if you're listening to the end of this podcast, that means you probably find that it has a lot of value for you in your professional life. So leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, whether that's iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever you listen to this on, so that you can help others find us as well.
That's great. I endorse that totally. Just make that comment. We'd love that. Before we end, we like to thank the people that have worked on the podcast. Claire Hoffman, who handles our editorial duties, Rebecca Pappas, who handles our distribution, and Dave Nelson, who's our producer. So thank you. And what do we say?
Gather on.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Google Play, and Pocket Cast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps others discover the Gather Geeks podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. You can leave feedback on Twitter @GatherGeeks or leave us an email, gathergeeks@bizbash.com. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of Gather Geeks. Until then, gather on.